Senior exit interviews are coming up soon. To help you get ready for your interview and for life after high school in general, B&N students sat down with Assistant Principal Mike Lytle and School Counselor Fallon Sullivan to ask for their advice and experience in job interviews.
I always bring a copy of my resume and my cover letter, and that is very different depending on the job that you're applying for. Obviously, your resume stays the same, but your cover letter should be tailored to wherever you want to get a job. And then finally, I like to provide a list of references just because it kind of saves that step for your employer, and that way they know who they're contacting afterwards. So that way if they're like, hey, I really, really liked her, or not, they'll know who they can contact for next steps.
You always should take one for every person in the interview. And so if you know there's going to be a five-person panel interview, you should bring 6 in case somebody else shows up. And of course, have one for yourself in case somebody has a question. That way you can just pull it out and glance at it yourself. But yeah, you should always have them available to them. In the most recent interview I did, they all already had a copy. I knew they had a copy, so I didn't bring any copies with me other than one copy for myself to look over before I went in. If you think you're going to need them, but only if you're going to ask questions. So if you get an opportunity at the end, they ask, hey, do you have any questions for us? And just, hey, do you mind if I look at my notes real quick? Because I did have a question. Most interviewers don't care about that. That's not a big deal. So yes, but I'd have them in something put away so that you're not distractedly looking at them.
I am one of those people where I like to, and I've been this way my whole life, I like to kind of go over what I'm going to present, but I don't like to have speaker notes because I'm better kind of off the cuff. But if you're you're a person where you feel like you are in the moment and you get in your head and you feel like talking points would really be helpful for you, I feel like that really just depends on your personal preference. But ultimately your goal in an interview is to make yourself seem really comfortable and really authentic. So whatever you can do to best prepare you to look that way or to present that way, I say go for it.
But I also usually bring a notebook, I got a nice leather-bound memo-style notebook, something that looks nice that if I get the opportunity to ask questions, I've got my questions written inside, or if I need to take a note about something, I've got that with me. And plus I'll have my interview cheats inside, so I'll just spend a few minutes looking over that before I go into the interview as well.
A professional outfit, that's what I would recommend. Whether that's not necessarily like a suit, but if you want to go that far, you can, or just a collared shirt, or for women, whatever you're most comfortable in, whether it's a pantsuit or a skirt and a dress, or but whatever you feel comfortable in, that you can present yourself the best version of yourself, the most comfortable, if that makes sense.
You need to dress for the job you want, but should never be less than something you would say wear to church. For a man, it probably ought to be at least a shirt and tie and jacket if you have that. For a lady, business suits going way over the top, but a nice dress.
As far as etiquette goes, I feel like as long as you're engaged, obviously you don't want to be in an interview and be like, okay, I have tons of stuff to do, I'm on my phone, I have better that somebody's texting me, I got it somewhere to, you have to be present.
Anything that distracts them from seeing and hearing you should be left behind. Smartwatches, phones. If you obsessively check your watch, don't wear it into the interview. You
have to make eye contact, and you have to seem interested. If that's something that you are very interested in pursuing, then they're your first step in the door.
When you come into a room, shake everybody's hand, but make eye contact when you're shaking hands. Good firm handshake, and make sure you tell them before you start that you appreciate the opportunity to sit down with them. And then when you end, you say the same thing again, and you hope they'll consider you.
I always like to talk to my family before I go into an interview. I feel like that, and talk about something other than the interview. To me, that's super helpful because they're kind of what keeps me calm. So I like to do that. Other people like to listen to music, or even take a walk around somewhere. Like if you get to a building early from where you're interviewing, take a walk around, clear your head. All those things are super helpful whenever it comes down to before you actually get in the room, so that way you aren't just sitting there thinking about, this person's about to ask me 20 questions about myself.
I've done a great number of interviews. I don't really get nervous anymore. The first couple of times I had to do an interview, especially right out of college when I didn't have a job and didn't have a steady income, and it was time to actually start paying the student loan back, Yeah, that was nerve wracking because really trying to impress the people you're talking to get some job offers. What I did is just relaxed, breathed, and tried to just imagine how I would answer different questions I think I would get. So when I went into the interview, I was confident and ready.